I don't know if you guys have heard, but we're in the midst of a pandemic. Some people are calling it coronavirus, others are calling it COVID-19, but we're being told that it's an emergency. It's a crisis, you guys. So much so that we have to tolerate lockdowns and curfews and mask mandates and business closures. We gotta risk economic destruction. People who have businesses have to risk losing their business. People have to risk losing their jobs, their livelihoods, their homes. But hey, we all gotta make sacrifices to save lives, you guys. We gotta flatten the curve. This is all according to our government officials, our political leaders who are taking this virus super seriously, you guys. Especially our beloved bureaucrats at the FDA, who recently, as you see here in this article by Marty McCary, the FDA career staff are delaying the vaccines as thousands of Americans die. It says that a few weeks ago, on November 22nd, Pfizer submitted an application to get their vaccine approved. And even a few days ago, Moderna also submitted an application, but the FDA, they scheduled the review for December 10th. But Marty McCary goes on to say, let me be clear, the agency should not cut any corners in its review process, just cut out the sitting around time. FDA insiders say that the agency and its approximately 17,000 employees were dark for the 4-day Thanksgiving holiday, including those working on vaccine approval. It's time that the FDA adopt a sense of urgency. And I'm over here wondering, what were they doing during these 4 days, during the week of Thanksgiving? They could not have possibly been celebrating the Thanksgiving holiday because remember, we were all told that no Thanksgiving this year. Sorry, guys. We have a pandemic. You know, maybe you can have like 3 or 4 people at your dinner, but no big dinners, no partying this weekend. We are in an emergency, guys. So these FDA employees, they could not have possibly been spending these 4 days with their families or friends or loved ones. But if we're being charitable, maybe the people at the FDA, maybe they needed a good 4 days to recharge their batteries. Because, you know, this has been a long year. They've been under a lot of pressure. Maybe they needed 4 days to recharge their batteries before they get back to work. Okay, no rush or anything, you guys. It's not like we have this emergency pandemic. It's not like political leaders across the country are shutting down businesses to, again, flatten the curves. So take your time, FDA. No rush or anything. Or maybe, you know, this is the Dispatch. I'm not really familiar with this source. Maybe this Marty McCary guy, maybe he's just some hack blogger. Let's check out, who is this guy? He's an MD, MPH professor at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. Huh. Maybe this guy is legit. Anyway, I highly recommend checking out this article for yourself. Marty McCary talks a lot about how the FDA has been stalling and stonewalling developments all year during this pandemic. But either way, I cannot help but wonder, why the hell do we need the FDA's permission? Why do we need the government's permission to try a vaccine? Where are all these my body, my choice people when we need them?
You know, that's a really good question.
I mean, a few months ago, when Amy Coney Barrett was getting appointed, when she was getting seated to the Supreme Court, I had to read a lot of thought pieces, had to see a lot of outrage about how abortion rights are in danger, my body, my choice. But if we're in the middle of an emergency pandemic, the my body, my choice people, they're rather silent. They're rather crickets over the fact that the FDA is telling people what they can and cannot put into their bodies. Maybe Pfizer and Moderna and the rest of Big Pharma, maybe if they called their vaccines something else, like, I don't know, maybe if they called their vaccines birth control, maybe the my body, my choice people would finally show up and help out a little bit. Again, no big deal or anything. I guess in the meantime, we'll just have to issue fines to people for walking around without cloth on their face because, remember, my body, my choice. And we're definitely not going to get help from our friends on the right. We're not going to get any help from the conservatives. Not with people like clueless Candace Owens over here, who seems to be skeptical toward vaccines for no reason other than the possibility that Bill Gates and others might make money off of the vaccines. Clueless Candace Owens never shuts up about how the left, about how they want to control everyone, how they want to control everything. Yet she seems to sign off on the FDA controlling everyone's medicine, and people talk about Candace Owens like she's God's gift to America, here to save us all from the anti-capitalist left.
Nigga, get the fuck out of here.
And we're not going to get any help from conservatives because they all love the FDA. If there's anything that conservatives don't like about the FDA, it's that they're not strict enough on things like opioids. If only we had better laws and more regulations on opioids, maybe then we can send out more armed men with badges into the streets to save Americans from opioids by shooting bottles of OxyContin out of everyone's hands. Because apparently the only way to deal with drug abuse is with force and fascism. Add to that the fact that Republicans this week voted against decriminalizing cannabis. Wonderful work, Republicans. Thank you so much for saving America from the big government left. Why do we even need the FDA? Can people think for themselves or not? Especially on the issue of vaccines, I'm more convinced than ever that the FDA is not required with the prevalence of anti-vaxxers. Who needs government bureaucrats when you have crackpots and tinfoil hats like Alex Jones discouraging everyone from taking medicine? Even on the issue of COVID vaccines, I hear some rather reasonable people say stuff like, look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not sure that I trust a vaccine that came to market this fast. Okay, fine. It's your right to not try a vaccine, and you should not be forced into getting vaccinated. Remember, your body, your choice. But how about the people that are willing to try the vaccine? Perhaps the people in the high-risk category, i.e. the elderly, i.e. the people that we are destroying businesses and livelihoods across the country for. One argument I keep hearing in defense of the FDA and their cock-blocking of medicine is risk. There might be risks involved with these new vaccines. Even if they're effective, it's hard to tell whether or not a new vaccine might have long-term health effects. And maybe that's the case, but maybe some people are willing to take that risk. I don't mean to play the whataboutism card here, but how come when it comes to the FDA and their approving of new medicine and new vaccines, we gotta be extra careful with the risks? We can't take any chances by rushing a new vaccine to market, so we just gotta wait and see. We need some more clinical trials, we need some more FDA oversight, and maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe next year, maybe next decade, maybe next century, maybe next millennium, we'll finally get permission to try the new COVID vaccine. Going back to the issue of high-risk people, back in June, the philosopher formerly known as Harry Binswanger, he made a post on his paywall forum about how he would be willing to try a COVID vaccine once it comes to market. And Harry Binswanger is in his 70s, so it's not unfair to put him in the high-risk category. And I imagine Harry Binswanger is not alone. I imagine there are a lot of people in the high-risk category that would be willing to try a new vaccine, and the only thing that's stopping them is our beloved bureaucrats at the FDA. How many people have really suffered, if not died already? How many of these people would still be alive, would still be fine because they would have gotten vaccinated? How many more people are going to really suffer or die because they're not being allowed to vaccinate? All of this talk about risk assessment, is anyone assessing these risks?
You know, that's a really good question.
All of this talk about flattening curves because of the latest spikes and now the ICUs and the hospitals are overwhelmed again. Could we have maybe avoided the spikes and the overwhelmed hospitals if people were allowed to try vaccines the last few weeks or the last few months? Was this at all factored into the risk assessment? Where's all of this risk assessment with these fucking lockdowns? The lockdowns have already been a disaster for the economy. All this talk about sorry you lost your business, sorry you lost your job, but life is more important. Ignoring the fact that life is unsustainable without productive effort and business. No time to talk about risks. We gotta shut down the economy to save lives. But vaccines that show to be 90 to 95% effective, if not better, whoa, buddy. Can't take any risks there. Sorry we destroyed your livelihood, but don't worry, because Congress might print a few $1 trillion to keep everyone afloat, because there's definitely no risk with printing a few extra $1 trillion into existence. Or how about the risk assessment of other diseases or deaths related to the lockdowns? Back in March, in a piece he wrote for Medium, a methodologist said that if the lockdown is prolonged, we can expect increases in deaths from cancer, cardiovascular disease, stroke, mental illness, and substance abuse. How many cancers will metastasize? Well, colonoscopies or biopsies deemed elective will be postponed. Meanwhile, experts are already predicting cancer deaths expected to rise from delayed screenings. As you can see right here, Dr. Cheryl Willman, director and CEO of the University of New Mexico Comprehensive Cancer Center, says that the impact of COVID-19 on cancer diagnosis and treatment and the treatment of other chronic illnesses is going to be devastating. Meanwhile, it appears that mental health experts are seeing a rise in suicides as a result of COVID-19. I guess there's even been an increase in suicidal thoughts reported related to the lockdowns and COVID-19. Sorry we took away your means of income and destroyed your future and destroyed your dreams and guilted you along the way for wanting to return to normal and enjoy life again. But here you go. Here's a phone number you can call, and best of luck, and remember, we're all in this together. At this point, which is more preferable? Allowing people to try new vaccines and try new treatments while scientists and other medical experts continue to assess the risks involved with new vaccines and new treatments? Or do we just keep the economy locked down and continue to force people to wrap cloth over their faces and print trillions of dollars and hope that there's not crazy inflation? Either way, no matter what happens, just remember, this is all capitalism's fault.